We're back. Week 3, Cookie and Kev Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the War Room at All WNY Radio. Just to start, if you want to call, talk to us, let us know how you're feeling. The phone number is 716-402-4218. Again, 716-402-4218. And we're back. Kev Diddy's here.
How you guys doing today?
And we are feeling a lot better than we were last week, that's for sure.
Can't beat that game. That was honestly a perfect performance from all facets.
Buffalo Bills get a nice 41-14 victory over a division rival at that, the Miami Dolphins. Squish the fish, of course. Who likes the Dolphins? Unless you're from Miami, of course. But like you said, Kev Diddy, beautiful game all around from everybody. Everybody played the way you would expect them to, the way you want them to, the way we thought that they were going to play, the way that they didn't play the week before against New England. But that's in the past, and we are here on week 3, and we're going to let you know everything you need to know and how we felt about the whole game. So we'll just start off with, I would say, the biggest highlight and the best talking point of the whole game, and that's the play of our now Buffalo beloved Tyrod Taylor. Came, basically out of nowhere, sat behind Joe Flacco for a few years, showed us what he was worth in week 1. Week 2 was touch and go until the fourth quarter, and then this week he had a coming out party, I would like to call it. Tyrod went 21 for 29 for 277 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
And that didn't even tell the whole story of the game and how he just controlled, the tempo. Just really looked confident back there, and it really showed how much he belongs and how much, the other players respect him and his presence brings to everybody else.
Absolutely. ESPN and their fancy total quarterback rating that they decided to start doing back in 2006 rated him the highest rated quarterback in the Sunday afternoon games at a 95.3. And yes, that is out of 100. So
that's also including Tom Brady.
And that is including Tom Brady because Tom Brady played Sunday afternoon. But we'll get to Tom Brady and his thrubbing of the Jaguars later. 95.3, that is the highest that we've had from a quarterback since 2006 when they started doing that rating system. Also, if you want to go back to archaic ways and the original quarterback rating, different from total quarterback rating, but we won't get into that because your head will probably hurt if we start trying to explain it. But his 116.1 quarterback rating over the first 3 weeks of the season is the highest for a Bills quarterback in the first 3 weeks of a season in franchise history, including Jim Kelly.
Surpassing him and just really proving to everybody, around the league, I would say that, he's the real deal and he's something to be, taken seriously.
Absolutely. One of the big concerns that people were talking about and thinking about after week 2 was a little bit of his sweet feet in the pocket and not understanding when the pocket was collapsing and what moves to make and how to play the game. But he came back with a vengeance this week. He had a perfect quarterback rating, that is the old one, not the new one, of 158.3 while under pressure. He went 5 for 6 for 90 yards and a touchdown when there was blitzers or people in his face obscuring his ability to just stand in the pocket. And I would say that definitely proves a point that a lot of the issues that we were talking about last week with Tyrod, maybe he watched enough film, maybe he was more prepared for this game, who really knows, but those statistics are a beautiful thing.
Right, and I'm just going to piggyback off your point on the blitzing. He is the most blitzed quarterback right now in the league at 46% of his snaps, and he has the highest completion percentage while being blitzed the most times at 75%. That says that, he has a good offensive line, but it also says that he could stay in the pocket, and what Rex wanted him to improve on last week was stepping up, and I think you saw that on a lot of those deep throws, and, I guess you could attest it to him not wanting to run too much. He only had a couple carries for 13 yards, but he really just, did a great job staying in the pocket, looking for the open wide receiver. And when it wasn't there, he checked it down, but he wasn't even checking it down much. He had a 9.2 yards per attempt, and that's one of the highest in the league right now. I think Buffalo's onto something with this guy. You got to really give it to Doug Whaley and to Rex Ryan for going out and finding him. Rex Ryan said today that he spoke to Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, who gave huge boost of confidence to him, saying that this guy's the real deal. His preparation, his composure, his confidence really sticks out to everybody. And the way he works, it's almost like an Aaron Rodgers, where this guy will do anything to really improve his game in different aspects, including working out. They had a little stat. Solomon Wilcox brought it up, was that he was in all the drills with the wide receivers, with the cornerbacks, doing all the running, seeing who's faster, and he's a quarterback, but really he's just an athlete, and he proved that he can throw the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy that's only had 20 incompletions all season through 3 weeks. He's 58 for 78 throwing the ball in general. It's a beautiful statistic. He actually is top 5 in the NFL in completion percentage, yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, quarterback rating. That is the old statistic, and 25-plus yard completions. I can't remember the last time the Bills have had a quarterback that have even been in the top 5 of 2 of those categories.
Right. And Andy or Cookie, I should ask you, like, do you think this is the Greg Roman style, or do you think that this could be a direct result of the playmakers we have on offense, or do you think that this guy's the real deal? He can make these throws consistently, and this is just going to keep happening week by week?
I hate to be corny, but I think it's just like mathematics. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. You plug those numbers in, and you're going to get the answer that you want to get every time. It's a formula, a proven formula. And I think that that's what we got here in Buffalo. You got Rex Ryan plus Tyrod Taylor plus Greg Roman, and it's equaling great offensive showings. It is only week 3. It's hard to really get too far ahead, but I can't remember the last time that we've had this kind of a go for quarterbacks, this kind of a confident feel. I remember everybody remembers Trent Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody remembers JP when he started. Everybody remembers Fitz. But I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Bills games throughout my life, and this one just feels a little bit different.
Right. It seems like he could actually, improve. Like when you had Fitzpatrick back there, taking us to that 4-0 start, there was always something in the back of your mind saying, why didn't this guy work out in Cincinnati? Why didn't this guy work out in St. Louis? And it ended up happening when, defenses figured out how to stop him. What really, makes me, very excited about this is that people are blitzing, so when they drop everybody back, you're going to have the running game open up a little bit more. And I just want to speak to that first drive that we had. You would think that they wanted to set the pace with the run, give it to LaShawn McCoy the first drive, but Greg Roman did something totally opposite, and he had 5 straight passing plays, and you had Charles Clay get active early, and I think that was a huge part of the game plan. They say that Greg Roman kind of scripts his plays, and it's kind of crazy how the Dolphins coaches didn't really realize that. Although you wouldn't expect them to pass 5 straight plays, and then you have Charles Clay do his little shifty moves and get in the end zone.
Absolutely, and the thing about that is the formations that they were coming out in. Any other team, you watch those formations and you see that kind of a bunch formation or a full house formation, things like that. And you're going to expect a run, especially with a coach like Rex Ryan, who always lives by the ground and pound.
Right.
I think that they came out and caught him a little bit off guard. I also think that absolutely Charles Clay had a big chip on his shoulder. Pre-game, we were sitting back before the game, and I did think that Charles Clay was going to maybe have a big game. And
yeah, you called it. I mean, you were definitely right there.
I'm glad that I didn't look stupid on that aspect because, in all fairness, I've been saying I think he's going to have a good game the last 2 weeks, and he hasn't played bad, but
no.
He caught 4 passes, I think it was, maybe 5
on that first drive. 4 of them. He got 4 of them. And the greatest thing is that, like you said, the pre-snap movement. You had Percy Harvin on that touchdown pass. Pre-snap movement, get into the backfield. You looks like it's going to be a handoff. Clay acts like he's blocking, and then he releases at last second, and Tyrod Taylor finds him for a perfect pass and letting him, go and, use his legs and use his athleticism to see what he can do after the catch. And, we saw what he can do after the catch.
Those were some fancy moves. He had some sweet feet when he got into the secondary, made a couple moves. broke past people. One more point on Tyrod really quick that I want to hit on, though, is we haven't had a quarterback throw 25 touchdowns in a season since 1991 in our man's Jim Kelly. Now, I'm not getting too far ahead of myself, but Tyrod Taylor already has 7. He's got 13 more games to pass 18 more touchdowns.
Right, and then you don't even count the ones he had running in. He's got 2 already on the rush. Dude, that's 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, this looks good so far, but I mean, we don't know how well the Dolphins really are. Yeah, they have a good defense on paper. You signed Sue for over $100 million, but it just looks like their coaching it wasn't there. They weren't disguising any blitzes. They weren't doing anything that really stood out to you. Like it seemed like they just lost interest.
I agree. Joe Philbin is probably feeling like how you feel after you eat 20 hot wings. That ass is on fire because he is in one hot seat right now, I'll tell you what. He is not looking
bang,
good.
Bang, bang, bang.
Absolutely. I feel for you, Philby, because it sucks, man. You're not doing good at your job. People are definitely down your throat about it. I think that trashy white blonde-haired girl in the front row really summed up everything that we had to know
Flipping
about
everybody off.
Dolphins game yesterday. Flipping everybody off and whatnot. That was, hey, if I'm losing that bad and I had a couple twisted teas or whatever, who knows? I'm not going to judge her on it, but come on now,
Yeah.
But Tyrod Taylor doing beautiful things. He's playing great, but you can't forget the running is a big part of the offense as well. And Carlos Williams, my man, holy jeez.
That guy looks like he's like a Marshall Falk out there, just running past people, like 230 pounds of just pure muscle. It looks like he can't even go, 5 miles per hour when you look at him, but that guy puts on the jets.
Oh, man, when he puts those shoulder pads down and gets going, that is the definition of a downhill runner right there. He doesn't make a move until he hits the line of scrimmage. Now, I'm not taking anything away from guys who like to make a couple moves, dance around, but we haven't had great luck with that over the years,
CJ Spiller.
Oh, CJ, man.
East-West. I don't know if it works, but LaShawn McCoy, I would not take anything away from him. He had 11 carries for, I think it was 16 yards. Yeah, terrible, but
the hamstring.
Right, it was the hamstring. The first 2 runs, he had like a 9-yard run and then like a 5-yard run, and that was it. He wasn't feeling good, and you throw Carlos back there, and what a safety blanket. This guy just hits the hole, and some of those offensive lines pulling. You have Richie Incognito sealing the second level while Felton's just taking out an offense or a defensive lineman, and this guy's just in the second level, third level, and then he takes it for a 49-yard touchdown. I mean, 110 yards, 7.7 yards per carry so far, the highest in the NFL through 3 games. 3 touchdowns through 3 games in his first 3 games is tying a rookie record. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, did you know he was a running back for Miami at one point, and he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games?
Wowza. The last guy in the NFL that did that was 98, Robert Edwards for the Patriots. And our Carlos Williams is doing it now. The one thing that I really liked that I don't think I've ever seen a Bills team ever do, and I can't really remember much seeing it from any other team, to be honest, but on that 49-yard touchdown run, they had Tyrod Taylor 4 yards off the line of scrimmage in a shotgun. Carlos Williams lined up behind him, and then Jerome Felton to the right of Tyrod in a 3-point stance, getting down there like a half. It was like a weird, strong eye.
Right, this is the fullback, too. And then you have Richie Incognito pulling. It's honestly, it's beautiful to watch.
Richie Incognito, you are a bully, and I love it. Jonathan Martin, don't worry about any of that stuff that happened in the past. You left it behind you.
Let it go.
And you're an animal now, bro. You've always been an animal. And the things that you're doing right now are truly remarkable. And I'm loving every single second of it. You're the best guard in the league right now.
Through 3 games, is the best guard in the league. Is a Pro Bowler. You just hope you could sign him for next year. But the one question that we had going into this season is, there's 2. There's the quarterback play, and then you had the offensive line. We knew the defense would be good, and we knew the running game would be solid. We didn't know Carlos Williams would just sneak out of somewhere, but it was the offensive line and it was the quarterback. And at this point, Pro Bowl season right now from Richie Incognito, and Tyrod Taylor's looking like a true animal out there, and I hope that he wins some awards this week. giving him some accolades for his success.
Absolutely. And one of the really crazy statistics, and something that not crazy, but something crazy for Bills fans, because I can't remember the last time we ever had this happen, but right now, through 3 weeks, we are the third highest scoring team in the NFL behind Arizona and New England. Buffalo Bills, yes, the Buffalo Bills are the third highest scoring offense in the NFL right now. And with the defense like that, and a defense that's going to shut teams down when we need them to, if we keep putting up points, there's no reason to believe that we can't keep on winning games and keep, chugging along and hoping to break this playoff drought.
Right. Well, when we rate this game, I do want to, fast forward through it a little bit so we can get to the other highlights of the NFL. Only because, we did squish the fish, and I do want to, get to the Giants next week. Odell Beckham versus Sammy Watkins, hopefully, maybe. So why don't we rate the offense, and you give, your grade.
Offense, beautiful game, guys. I liked everything that I saw. I got to be a stickler for the offense, though, because the offense has always been our biggest problem. Quarterback has always been our biggest hole. I loved everything I saw from the offense, so A minus, right there near a B plus, though, only because I got to be a stickler for the offense. I got to be rough on them, but everything I saw yesterday, I loved. We only had 5 or 6 penalties the whole game.
Wonderful.
And I think 1 or 2 of them was on offense. The only problem I have with the offense really right now is Cordy Glenn has got to stop taking penalties. I think he has 3 or 4 penalties through the first 3 weeks of the season. And for one offensive lineman to be having those kind of penalties, you're better than that, buddy.
Right, and
you don't need to hold.
He's looking for a contract, too. He's looking to get paid.
He is looking to get paid, and the Bills do have a track record of not wanting to pay offensive linemen at all. Mm-hmm. Andy Levitre, Jason Peters, just let guys walk. So you got to step your game up, buddy. It is a new ownership, new regime, new GM. But Kev, what do you think about the offense?
I'm gonna go out here, man. I've been a stickler the past couple of weeks on my grades, but I'm gonna give him an A plus. You can't beat that, and maybe your only fault would be with LaShawn McCoy and him not getting going, but I'm gonna blame that in the injury. I mean, these guys are just running all over teams. They're piling up over 150 yards in all 3 games. And then Percy Harvin. You can't say enough about this guy. He is the number 1 wide receiver right now. Too bad Sammy got hurt. He looked good. He had that 1 catch for 39 yards. He almost caught one in the end zone, got pushed out. But, I mean, Percy Harvin, this guy is they
he's
put
playing
him
for money too.
Right. Well, they put him outside, and now he's running routes. And Sandre Lau, the wide receivers coach, took him under his wing. Everybody's saying that he's staying after practice, really learned how to run the routes correctly, and be an outside threat rather than that gadget slot receiver, and it's really paying off. Did he have 8 catches, Andy? I believe it was 8 catches.
7 catches for 66 yards.
Okay, and 8 targets, and that's incredible. I mean, this guy he did 1 comeback play on a 3rd down, and Tyrod Taylor hit him. He dropped down, he made the catch, and it was just like, yeah, this is our game right now. Carlos Williams did great. Richie Incognito did great. Tyrod Taylor, you did perfect. So I'm going to do an A+, and, Robert Woods also, and Hogan. He goes back to Miami, and he shows them why they should have re-signed him.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful pass to Hogan. Every deep ball that Tyrod Taylor seems to throw, for the most part, seems to be on the money, and it's really impressive to me that it's just a flick of the wrist. It's not really like he's stepping into it. Absolutely. It's not like he's really stepping into it too hard. It just seems like his form is just almost perfect on throwing those deep balls. It's really beautiful. I like what I see. I like what he's doing, and everything about it is keep on keeping on, Tyrod. But
hell yeah. And we had the one to Watkins, perfect on the money. You had the one to Hogan, perfect on the money. The one that he missed to Percy was damn near close. I mean, Percy burned that cornerback.
And that's only a half yard at the most.
Yeah, right. And before, what were we looking at? We were looking at E.J. Manuel. He threw ducks up there. Ryan Fitzpatrick couldn't throw over 25 yards. Kyle Orton still didn't really have a deep ball either. It would be lucky if he hit him.
E.J. Manuel, you did get a little bit of burn in the game, too.
I
won't forget seeing you get some burn. You handed off for a touchdown. So I'll give you a little bit of credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit worried when they put EJ in with 7.5 minutes left. I know we were up by a lot, but the Bills do have a tendency to make blowouts a little bit closer than they should be sometimes, and I wasn't sure about pulling the trigger and taking out Tyrod that early. But they're trying to keep him healthy, and I understand that. I was a little concerned when Tyrod came up hobbling after that one run and his leg got caught underneath him, but no worries because he came back in and kept doing what he needed to do.
Oh yeah. Well, when we move to the defense on that, and I'll start first, and I'm going to give the defense an A minus, and in the yards that they did let up were all at the end, like you said. But what really stuck with me is that they had two goal line stances that they made Tannehill not be able to push it into the end zone, and then the one touchdown that they did get was like a 49-yard bomb that. Basically Stephon Gilmore tripped up in coverage, and they got lucky and they caught it right in the end zone. Players that stood out to me, Jerry Hughes. He may not have been on the stat sheet for sacks, but this guy was causing mayhem in the backfield. Unbelievable pressure. He didn't take a personal foul penalty. That's got to be the first one in like 6 games for this guy. So good for you, Jerry Hughes. You listen to the media and Rex Ryan. Also, I would say that another standout, obviously, Preston Brown. You had 2 interceptions, one for a pick 6. Rex Ryan today was interviewed, and he said that he had 2 great linebackers that he's coached, and that's Ray Lewis, and then the other one is David Harris, and those 2 linebackers are go down. David Harris, he's not one of the best, but Ray Lewis is probably the best linebacker our generation's ever seen, and he says that Preston Brown has the ability. He's got the smarts, and we'll see. In the backfield, Ronald Darby, good for you, 100%. Stephon Gilmore, when you don't see him, getting targeted and you don't see him much, I think that's a good thing. And then our safeties just fly around. They're so aggressive. It's fun to watch. It looks like they're just ready to take somebody's head off, and a couple of times it did happen to Darby.
Yeah, Nickel Roby, I think it was, got a – no, maybe it was Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo was coming in hot a couple times.
Coming in hot, hitting Darby a few times, and it's all good, though. That's just making plays on the ball. But after week 1, I gave the defense an A+. Last week, I gave the defense an F. And this week, I'm going to give the defense an A+ again. I liked every single thing that I saw from the defense yesterday. We came out and we shut them down early. On our first drive, when we scored a touchdown, we came out 3 and out. Beautiful. That's exactly what you need. We did the same thing to the Pats the previous week, but it didn't go as planned. And I think this week they had learned their lesson, and they did exactly what they wanted to do on defense. Back to your point about Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes was absolutely magnificent yesterday. He had 6 quarterback pressures during the game and led all Bills defensive players with a plus 5.6 rating from Pro Football Focus.
Gotta love your stats, baby.
Absolutely. Statistics are
this
a beautiful thing.
This guy's prepared.
Always prepared for you guys. I want to let you know. But Jerry Hughes played magnificent. Darby, big ups to you, Darby. After the preseason, I was really worried about you. And you really been shutting me up lately. You made a lot of good plays. There was a play either on their first or second drive on a second and long, I believe it was, and they tried to run a quick comeback route to, I believe, Devontae Parker, and you read that play beautifully, stayed on the hip. They threw the ball in. It was a good throw, but you dove in and made a good play on that. I like that. It just seems that you always know where the ball is, and you haven't gotten burned. At first, I was really worried that McKelvin was going to be out, that he was going to miss the first 8 weeks of the season because he was a big cog in our defensive play last year. But to be honest, Darby, you're making me forget about Leotis pretty easily. I'm not really sweating it anymore.
But that just shows how much depth we have. I mean, Jesus, you're not even worried when somebody goes down because somebody steps up. Aaron Williams goes down. Bakari Rambo steps up. And to piggyback off your point again, Darby, top rookie right now in the secondary, along with Evan Peters from Kansas City. And then you'd also have to say, running backs. You have the guy from Washington. What is it, Matt Jones and Carlos Williams? I mean, that's 2 draft picks. From Whaley right there. One in the 3rd and one in the 5th. I'm sorry, one in the 2nd and one in the 5th.
And funny you say that too, because saw something pop up my Twitter timeline from an article in, I believe, May or June, where Mike Rodick said that the Bills really screwed the pooch on picking Darby and Carlos Williams.
Yeah, stop right there when you have Mike Rodick writing it. That guy's the biggest Bills hater this side of the freaking Mississippi.
I'm just saying, anytime anytime somebody hating on the Bills is wrong, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Rambo, you played amazing yesterday on Preston Brown's pick six. You shot that gap like you were coming out of a cannon, my man.
Best play of the game.
That was fantastic. When you did that, I was like, holy geez, that play happened so fast. I didn't even really know what happened until Preston Brown was in the end zone. At that point, of course,
Tannehill had no clue that was coming. And that's so funny because this guy's getting paid $90-something million to play some football, and he can't even recognize when that's coming.
Tannehill. And also, really quick, too, Corey Graham, 10 tackles yesterday.
Big guy. Yeah, he's just all over the place.
Corey Graham, Buffalo boy. You came to the Bills, and ever since you came to the Bills, you've just been killing it. And I'm liking everything that I see from you. I was a little hesitant when they switched you from corner to safety, but again,
it's working out right now.
It's working out beautifully. So for me, defense, A+++++.
Plus.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing.
And we'll do special teams real quick. I'm just going to give him a B- only because Dan Carpenter missed that 150-yard field goal. You can't blame the guy, but hey, he did hit one. He missed the other. Colton Schmidt's always doing good. Jordan Gay, whatever. And, other than that, nothing really stands out to me on the special teams.
For special teams, I'm not even going to give them a grade, to be honest with you, because I don't even really think I saw much of the special teams yesterday.
That's a good thing.
Carpenter missed that one field goal, but that was 54 yards, I think it was, that he missed.
Yeah.
Besides that, what did we punt the ball, like, not more than a handful of times, I don't think.
Right.
It was kind of irrelevant, to be honest with you. Thigpen, sometimes when you catch the ball, you go a little too much left, right, not up, but it'll come in due time. When you bust them out and you score touchdowns, it's a beautiful thing. So I'm just going to let that be. Special teams, there's three facets to the game, but yesterday, I honestly couldn't even tell you I was paying much attention to special teams.
Right. Well, that's the Cookie and Kev recap from Week 3. Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins 41-14.
Squish the fish.
We squished them. You could call it.
You, Dolphin.
Whoa. Well, you could call into Wall Western New York Radio. It's 716-402-4218. Again, it's 716-402-4218. Why don't we transition into Week 3 matchups around the NFL?
Well, I think we should just start off real quick. Patriots Jacksonville 51-17. Tom Brady looks like he's on a revenge mission, showing everybody that deflated balls don't really mean anything to him because he'll do what he wants. I've been seeing people trying to compare this team to 2007 when they went 16-0 in the regular season. I would say it's a little early for that. But
I don't think they have the playmakers like they had a Randy Moss. I mean, but they do look awesome.
They just look fantastic. There's not much that you can say about the Pats. Tom Brady comes out, plays another phenomenal game.
They're a machine.
The Gronk didn't catch a touchdown yesterday. That's surprising because normally he's all over the place in the red zone. But he had another good game. Their defense played good, but it's Jacksonville ultimately.
Right.
LOL that they beat the Dolphins.
I think the one thing you got to really look at there is that LeGarrette Blount ran all over, and LeGarrette Blount is nothing. You know what I mean? He's just a fill-in bunt running back.
That was a Jerome Bettis game. We've talked about how I'm a secondary Steelers fan, and that is the definition of a Jerome Bettis game right there. Not really anything crazy, but when you get that ball in the red zone, 1, 2, 3 yard line, you hand LeGarrette Blount the ball, and he's going to get in the end zone. And that's what he did.
3 touchdowns.
And fantasy owners everywhere, I hope he wasn't riding your bench because if he was, I'm sure you were beating yourself up after that game was over. So it's all good.
I think that game
it speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's a machine. Why don't we move on? I hate even talking about it.
Yeah, we'll see you Monday night.
Touchdown, Tom.
Yeah, whatever, Tom Brady. Anyways, Jets lose to Philadelphia 24-17. Ryan Fitzpatrick, valiant efforts as always. Ben Roethlisberger went down, so I'm going to maybe try to pick you up in fantasy because every other quarterback is gone. Fitzpatrick, great beard. Not so great play yesterday. Philadelphia was 0-2, looked like a tire fire. Chip Kelly, the offensive genius, people were talking about maybe he should have stayed at Oregon because Oregon is garbage now, but college football is another topic we won't really get into. But I'm just grateful that the Jets lost, to be honest. Everybody was really gassing up the Jets, saying, oh, this team is this, that, and the other thing. Wow, who would have thought that the Jets were going to do this? But they're letting Fitzpatrick throw the ball 58 times. He went 35 for 58 yesterday. 58 passes for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, they were down 24-0. I watched most of this game, and what you see is that Sam Bradford does not look good. I think that Chip Kelly made a big error in getting rid of Nick Foles. And although Nick Foles had a terrible game this week as well, I just don't think Sam Bradford looks comfortable out there. I think that he's running around, and he just doesn't look comfortable on his feet. They got lucky. They had Darren Sproles take back a punt return that's just flipped the game on its head. The Jets couldn't tackle for the life of them. And then you have stupid Brandon Marshall catches like a 20-yard slant route and decides to try to pitch it. And the Eagles cornerback comes out of nowhere, not even knowing what's going on, and that football hits him in the head, and they pick it up and run it back for, a couple yards. But it just flipped the game on its head. Shout out to Ryan Matthews. He did awesome. And I think that might be a big controversy when DeMarco Murray comes back. The guy that they paid a lot of money. And then you flip it on its head, dude. You got Josh Randall in Dallas, eating them with that offensive line.
That offensive line is a truly beautiful thing over there in Dallas. But Brandon Marshall with easily one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen. Besides that, he has been playing really, really well this season.
Oh, yeah, man. We're all big Brandon Marshall supporter, but, that was just bricks for brains right there.
Absolutely. He did have another 10 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. So he has been playing very well. But the Jets just have no ability to run the ball. They thought that Balil Powell was going to be this guy that they could bring in, hand the rock to, let him do work, and it just hasn't been going good. 10 rushes for 31 yards, and if you can't get a run game going, you're not going to win any games. Like I said, Fitzpatrick throwing the ball 58 times in a game is just not a recipe for victory.
Right, and there is an excuse. Chris Ivory's out, and that's their main running back. But
he's not good either, though.
He's done good the first 2 weeks. I think what it really was is that defense, you see that they're explosive in the secondary, but nobody seemed like they could tackle for some reason. And Chip Kelly, he had 24-0 at half, and you'd think that this guy would just steamroll him and make it, 40-0 or 40-14. But they let the Jets get kind of back into it, and that's just because Fitzpatrick, like you said, threw 58 times. Now the Jets are 2-1, and the Eagles are 1-2, and the Eagles are really staring at a disaster, and like you said, a tire fire. And maybe, hey, Chip, are you really a genius? But I think they lucked out. I don't think the Eagles are good, and I don't think that the Jets are going to really go far just because we know what happens if Fitzpatrick.
Absolutely. I think it's safe to say that the NFC East is looking like one of the worst divisions in football.
100%. Right, yeah, that and even the West. If it depends on if Seattle can really, step up. They did really well yesterday, I should say. They shut out their opponent. But, God, San Francisco, what was that? Colin Kaepernick?
Horrible.
And everybody was complaining that Roman was making Kaepernick terrible, but he had 67 yards passing and 4 interceptions, 2 of which were brought back for touchdowns.
2 of his first 4 pass attempts were touchdowns to the other team. So Kaepernick, you got that big contract, sitting back, getting all those nice arm tattoos, buying your hats, keeping your steez up.
Saying that you're the greatest quarterback.
And you are coming out and laying ducks. And the thing is that's crazy is they came out first game of the season against Minnesota, a team that people were picking to hit the playoffs, to be a sleeper team, this, that, and the other thing. And they readily handled them pretty well. It was a good game for them. But ever since then, it's just been car off a cliff and Kaepernick.
Right. I do want to touch base on this game, though. The real story out of here is that Arizona Cardinals team is looking really good, and Carson Palmer is looking like an MVP candidate right now, right there with Tom Brady.
Still hasn't lost a game as the Arizona starting.
It's unbelievable. The top 3 offenses, let's just go from number 1, New England, number 2, Arizona, and number 3, Buffalo Bills. How crazy is that, right? But yeah, 47 points they put up. I think it's like 128 in 3 weeks. Bruce Arians is a genius, I believe. And Larry Fitzgerald, they threw him in the slot, and we thought his career may be over. Right now he's proving that he really made a difference this offseason by going into Bruce Arians' slot receiver role and really progressing. Now he got 2 touchdowns yesterday. He had 3 touchdowns the week before. It's looking like the Larry Fitzgerald of old.
It really is a great thing. Arizona, they're playing great football. They played great football last year. Would they start the season like 7-8-0 or something like that?
That defense is just so good.
It's fast. It's quick. Bruce Arians, great coach, like you said. He's trying to win Coach of the Year again. I'm pretty sure he won Coach of the Year last year.
I think he did. I mean, he had that quarterback.
John Skelton.
Yeah, that's the last thing they need is Carson Palmer to go down, and you see all these 30-year-old quarterbacks going down. You have Jay Cutler's out. You have Drew Brees, who's getting his shoulder examined again today by Dr. James Andrews. This might be something that might be a little bit more serious. You have Tony Romo out. Help me out here. I'm not sure. There's another one. Roethlisberger. Oh, let's go touch that right now.
Ben.
Like I said, Cookie's a closet Pittsburgh fan.
It's okay, though, buddy, because Big Ben is one tough SOB, I'll tell you what. This man bounced his head off of a car on his motorcycle without a helmet on and still made it in time for week 1. I'm pretty sure he's made of the same stuff that Wolverine is, and I'm not totally worried about it. Luckily, nothing is torn in the knee, bone bruise, MCL strain. They were saying that it all just depends on how quick he can get that walking boot off and start working out on it again, because the longer he has it in the walking boot, the more tense the muscle is going to get in there, and it's going to take him a little bit longer to rehab and get his power back in there. But they said that if he could get that walking boot off within the next week or so, he might be good in that 4-week timetable that they were talking about. But all those weapons that they have, and let's not forget, their backup quarterback is Mike Vick. I know he's not anything special, but I'd say it's a lot better than Charlie Batch. And when you got Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Heath, I just think that if they can call the right plays and do the right things, I'm not really worried about Pittsburgh that much.
Well, my thing is that you have a quick turnaround right now. They're going to go face Baltimore, who's 0-3 in Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. At 8:15 on Thursday. The thing that is really going to be interesting is that he has all the weapons, but Michael Vick has been known to throw a lot of interceptions. He can throw that deep ball. We saw it in the preseason against Buffalo. But did he learn the offense? I don't know. He has trouble with that. It seems like he's not very motivated when he's the backup quarterback. You saw it in Philly when he didn't learn the playbook. As the backup quarterback to Nick Foles. I think that they're done. You had 6 weeks right there without Ben. Is that like the bad term for it? The good
long term, honestly, the worst case scenario would be he gets back after their bye week. They got a bye in week 11.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 8 weeks.
Yeah, that could be it right there. I mean, the thing is that defense isn't good, and if you're gonna have Michael Vick throw up some interceptions, have them on the field a lot more, this might be a disaster for them. The Ravens 0-3 looks like a disaster. Cleveland terrible. That AFC North, which was so good last year, might just be terrible this year, and that might really do well for the Buffalo Bills, because now you're just gonna have to worry about the AFC West maybe getting a wild card. Maybe Kansas City. Hopefully they lose tonight. That's a big one. Pile up those early losses.
And we play Kansas City later in the year for what seems like the 35th season in a row.
Yeah, it probably is.
We're always playing Kansas City, but I'm not really worried about it. I think Big Ben will be back pretty promptly. Ultimately, It doesn't really matter as long as the Bills keep winning, to be honest. But that is a worry for Steeler Nation. It's a scary thought that Ben could be out for a while. But elite quarterbacks this season have been touch and go. You got Andrew Luck in Indianapolis, who this week luckily beat Tennessee, somehow managed to come back from down 27-14 in the fourth quarter and won that game. They were staring 0-3 right in the face, and I'm sure a lot of Colts fans would have been scared to high heaven if they would have lost that game.
Oh my God. And then they had a chance to tie it on that 2-point conversion, and the running back ran halfway back to his own freaking touchdown. But I mean, the telling stat is that guy's thrown 7 interceptions in 3 weeks. He's the worst rated quarterback right now in the NFL through that quarterback rating. He just doesn't look right. I don't think the offensive line is good, and they barely beat Tennessee. And I'm sorry, but Tennessee is not a good team.
Tennessee is not, but honestly, another good week for Marcus Mariota. 27 of 44 for 367, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions to kind of cancel that out. But this is a guy that everybody was saying, oh, the style that he ran at Oregon, who knows if he's going to translate well to the NFL. Jameis Winston is the superior guy, this, that, and the other thing. And not for nothing, Jameis hasn't played awful, but Mariota is definitely the number one right now, it looks like. But there's still a long season to go. There's still a ways to go. And we'll see what Mariota's got in 2 weeks when he has to play the Bills.
Right, and then we have Carolina took on New Orleans and Charlotte, and Cam Newton. Really, the big story of this game is that Cam Newton had a late hit on him, and Ed Hockley, the head official of the game, didn't call it. And I think Cam Newton, went to him and he asked him why didn't he call it, and Ed Hockley, apparently told Cam that he's not old enough to get that call. So that's the number one story out of that game. The number two story is that, New Orleans is 0-3 and Carolina is 3-0. And the last time Carolina started 3-0, they went to the Super Bowl. Drew Brees looks like, hey, he might miss another week. And Luke McCown didn't look terrible, but I think New Orleans is done.
They all those offseason talks about how New Orleans might want to trade Drew Brees, and they unloaded Jimmy Graham to Seattle and all that stuff. I wonder if anybody in the Saints front office is sitting there thinking, man, we maybe should have unloaded Drew Brees perhaps, because that shoulder, that was the problem that he had when he was in San Diego. He hurt his shoulder, and he was out of San Diego, revitalized his career in New Orleans. But if that's another big shoulder issue that he's having, he's old, and it might be a rough go at things for them. Luke McCown, you played good, buddy. 31 of 38 for 310. No touchdowns, had an interception, but for a guy that hasn't really played at all, that's a good stat line. It's hard when you have no real weapons outside of Brandon Cooks and Mark Ingram around you. So
I heard a stat that 40% of their salary cap was not playing that game. That just shows how much they have tied up in certain players, i.e., Drew Brees, Jarius Byrd, and Marquise Colston.
Jarius Byrd, so glad we let you walk.
Oh my God, what a great no sign.
I will be the first to admit I was very upset when we didn't re-sign Jarius Byrd. Bird flying high.
The bird is not the word, Cookie.
Not in New Orleans. It's certainly not. When he was here with us, beautiful, beautiful thing. But now I'm grateful that he's not here anymore because he hasn't played anything in New Orleans.
Well, let's flip it to Atlanta and Dallas. They took each other on in the Jerry world, in Jerry world, I should say. And Brandon Weeden was a starting quarterback. And another surprise, he played very well. They got off to a hot start. Joseph Randle did really well. Even Run DMC, got into the end zone. Surprisingly, he didn't, hurt his ankle or something.
It's a beautiful thing. Atlanta Falcons are 3-0 right now.
I hate the Atlanta Falcons.
Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL,
100%.
Hands down, no question.
I don't know. AJ Green might give him a run for his money.
AJ Green is definitely out there gaming, but Julio Jones is on pace to shatter every record that receiving has for a single season, with the exception of touchdowns. That's held by Randy Moss at 23 in a season that year when they went undefeated.
Yeah.
But Julio Jones is playing absolutely out of his mind right now. He missed a few games last season. He missed games the season before that. And everybody knew Julio Jones was the real deal. But this year, he got his pay. He looks like he's showing people who the boss is.
And then you flip it over to the Detroit Lions, and Calvin Johnson isn't doing anything. Megatron has really just been poor the last couple of years. What's up with that? What's up with those fantasy owners that own him and took him in the first 2 rounds?
I am very, very grateful that I didn't keep Calvin Johnson in fantasy football this year like I was thinking. But the last couple seasons, he's been getting banged up. He's kind of made of glass now. He is a freak when it comes to size and speed and all that kind of jazz, but I think that teams have just figured him out now. Maybe Detroit's new coaching scheme and everything just isn't really the way to go. They hired that coach kind of on blind faith with
Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, all he really had was, he was the quarterback's coach and stuff at Denver with Peyton and stuff.
Well, I thought that he was he was a quarterback coach when they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that you're right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's just one of those things where you're hiring a guy who probably shouldn't be a head coach in the NFL, and it just really hasn't been helping him out that much. A really funny note from that game was Amir Abdullah scored a touchdown, and the absolute butchery of his last name by whoever was commentating that game was hilarious. I don't know how you look at Abdullah and not know how to pronounce that.
How was the pronunciation?
It was something like Abdullah or something like that. Shout out my man Abdullah.
Abdullah.
But that was a rough go at things for them.
Oh yeah, well then you flip the script on the other side, and you have Peyton Manning, who looks like he might be doing pretty good. They changed that offense around. You got to give a lot of credit to Gary Kubiak. He started off. Peyton was taking snaps under center, and then by the second half of that Kansas City game on Thursday night, week 2. I think they realized that Peyton needs to be either in shotgun or in full house. And in week 3, he was 100% of his snaps from there. He hit Demaryius Thomas long right before the end of the half. Thank you, because that got me some points.
Needed that in fantasy.
Yep. And Detroit, I don't think they're that bad of a team. I think that they're going to rebound. They're one of those 0-3 teams that I think that will make a turnaround. They've had a hard schedule so far. I don't think you can blame them too much.
Do they have the 2% chance to make the playoffs, though?
The Buffalo Bills did it 1998.
That is very true, but I have a hard time having faith in Detroit. They had that one awesome season, and then they got bounced in the first round by New Orleans, and ever since then they've just been middle of the road, average. And Detroit, they're like Buffalo in terms of city and whatnot, and I feel for them a little bit, but you had your chance. Matt Stafford looks like he's regressed pretty hard over the last couple of years. He's still a quality quarterback. I'm not saying that he's bad, but the way he used to play in comparison to how he plays now just isn't the same, and he needs to step his game up if they want to start winning games.
Right. Well, and then we'll hit up a couple other games. You have Oakland beating Cleveland 27-20. Cleveland made it a little bit of a nervous thing there for the end, but Oakland looks pretty good. They're 2-1, and they're coached by Jack Del Rio, who I think is a proven coach in the league. I think he got shifted in Denver, and what do you think? Amari Cooper looks good.
Amari Cooper is fantastic. Derek Carr targeted him 8 times, I believe, against Joe Hayden, and he hit Amari Cooper 7 times for a little over 100 yards again. Amari Cooper is definitely proving the fact that he is the number 1 wide receiver on that team, and coming out of the draft class when he was getting a little bit of flack that maybe he wasn't the guy. But I think he's shutting up a lot of the doubters now. They have a pretty favorable matchup coming up next week against Chicago, who looks like they're in full-on Sabres tank mode, trading Jared Allen.
It's a fire sale.
Exactly. Jared Allen for a 6th-round pick. Come on. Jay Cutler's out. Chicago, they're not good at all. Oakland, they have a tendency, though, to not win the games that they should win. So if Oakland can win next week, then maybe Oakland might be a legitimate team in the AFC West.
Yeah, give them some love, man. Oakland's not, I root for them only because they've been so terrible for so long, but they finally hit on a wide receiver, it looks like. After, several drafts of picking high wide receivers and just, screwing it all up. We'll also hit up Houston. Houston. They barely got by Tampa Bay, and Jameis Winston. Tampa Bay's terrible. I don't know how they won last week. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike Evans, for having a couple catches and getting a couple of yards, though, because you had been playing pretty mediocre, to say the least. I mean, I know you were banged up, but it seems like you're back to form. And when you got Jameis throwing you the ball, you can only do what you can and keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Right, and I think that the most surprising result of the day would have to be Minnesota-San Diego. Minnesota just really turned on the Jets there. I know they have a good defense, but who would have thought they would put up 31 points, especially with Teddy Bridgewater not having such a good day, but, AP.
Adrian Peterson really broke out this game after week 1 being egregiously underused, and wondering what the hell are you thinking, not using Adrian Peterson in a high capacity when he's arguably the best running back in the league. And then he finally got his touches. He finally got his respect on the offense this past week, and he showed people what he can do against a a decent San Diego defense. They're nothing special, nothing crazy, but I would say that they're definitely top half of the league.
Oh, definitely. And they had that 91-yard interception return on Philip Rivers, so that was pretty nice. Now, that was the Week 3 rundown. Right now you have Kansas City taking on Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers is going to probably hopefully do his thing, and Kansas City is going to probably do their thing and not get a wide receiver touchdown.
Yeah, it seems about par for the course for them, but that's Week 3 in a nutshell. It was a good week. Bills did their thing, as we said. Go Bills. And might as well take this time quick before we let you guys go to look ahead to next week. Giants Bills at the Ralph Wilson Stadium. And opening up real quick, the line on this game is Bills -6.
No way.
Yeah, that is the highest, lowest, highest, however you want to look at it, spread that the Bills have had since, I believe, a game in 2007. Granted, betting lines, whatever, they go up and down depending on where people start throwing their money. But for the Bills to open up as a score favorite against a Giants team who isn't good, but it's still the Giants. They've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years. And
I think people realize that this team isn't good. I think Tom Coughlin always gets off the shaky starts, and their defense looks like it's one injury away from just being a you could run all over them kind of defense. And what do they have? They have OBJ.
But Victor Cruz said that he will be ready for this week. That is still undetermined by the coaching staff. They haven't cleared him for play yet, but he is saying that he's ready to play this week. Also, Eli Manning still hasn't thrown an interception. Like I said,
it's changing this week. I predict it.
I sure hope so. I think that it probably will happen because I think that we'll jump out to a pretty quick lead in that game, maybe 10-0 or something like that, and they'll resort to throwing the ball. And when Eli really starts throwing the ball, he is very likely to throw an interception. His completion percentage is just under 70% on the year so far, so Eli is playing pretty efficient football. No interceptions yet, but that's due to change, and if there's any defense that's going to change it, I would say that it is the Bills' defense.
Yeah, and I think we're going to look up to some matchups that we're going to have. Ronald Darby is going to be put on OBJ.
You really think they're not going to put Stephon on OBJ?
What they've been doing, lately is they've been putting that second wide receiver on Gilmore, and then just having, help with Darby with the number 1.
Let's hope that, not for nothing, the safeties played great, but maybe Aaron Williams will be ready to go this week. Hopefully, who really knows? They haven't really said much about it. They've been kind of hush-hush on it, but he's been at team facilities. He's been there.
He's been at Encore.
He's been at Encore. Come on, bro. But regardless, he's doing his thing. Hopefully, he can make it back because that would be nice, especially when we run like a nickel formation and we want to bring in an extra guy into the secondary. It's nice to know that you got your 2 starting safeties, and then you can bring in Roby or Rambo or whoever you really want to cover more in the secondary, because as much as I hate to admit it, OBJ is a force. He's been playing out of his mind since he got drafted, and that is definitely a guy that you got to look out for because he can make plays and he makes things happen when there's not really much to happen.
Right. I guess Victor Cruz is a big addition to their offense this week. I think that, if Sammy Watkins does play, it'll be really cool to see. Them two are always going to be tied together just because they were drafted in the same draft, and Buffalo moved up to get Sammy, and they didn't pick OBJ. I don't know. I'm not nervous for this game whatsoever. I was a little nervous for the Dolphins, but I think that this is a winnable game, a very winnable game. And I think
need
that,
to win this game.
Right, and I think that our coaching staff is one of those staffs that prepare, and I think that this is a team that's going to win those winnable games. And if we win this one, then you take that into Tennessee, and then you take that into Cincinnati, which will be a huge matchup.
Which is at home.
At Ralph Wilson Stadium. And I think we have the perfect defense for Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy Dalton doesn't play well under pressure, but I think that it's getting a little
ahead. We're looking ahead.
But one key thing that I really like that I hope stays the same, I don't ever want anybody to be injured or anything, but if Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie misses this game next week, he was out with a concussion this past week, and I think that if he misses that game, that's huge for us because if Sammy gets in there and plays and their number one cornerback is out. They do have a good secondary, but their secondary is banged up. And I think that they can take advantage of that. Charles Clay, like I said, this past week really came on like a force. And
Linebacker nightmare right there.
oh man, that guy, you can't cover him with a linebacker. He's a big, strong guy. He's a shifty guy. It's a beautiful thing to see that the Bills finally welcomed themselves into the new regime of the NFL and brought in a tight end who wasn't just 2-yard outs and stuff like that, a red zone threat. Charles Clay can get the ball on any down from any position on the field.
I totally agree. And if we're going to be in the prediction game, I'm going to say that the Buffalo Bills are going to win. It won't be as high as last week, but I'll say 27-13.
I like the Bills in this game a lot. It's a home game. We're coming off a big road win against a divisional opponent. These are the games, like you said, that we have to win. If we're going to be a team that's going to make the playoffs, hit a wild card, because we can't fool ourselves. The way that they're playing right now, it's the Patriots division. It's been the Patriots division for over a decade now. So unless the Patriots miraculously fall off or Tom Brady joins Scientology and disappears or something crazy like that, I think we're pretty much stuck hoping that we can win a wild card. And the key to winning the wild card and getting in the playoffs is beating teams that we should beat. We should beat the Giants. The following week, we should beat Tennessee, Cincinnati.
Toss up.
But then we should absolutely beat the Jaguars in London. There's a lot of games that are on the schedule that we should win. We're on what I would consider the easy stretch of the schedule in games that we need to win. After the bye week, we come out and we play 5 out of 6 on the road.
Okay.
And that's going to be a rough go at things there, but that's still far ahead. We got a ways to go till we get there. But for the prediction side of the ball, unless OBJ absolutely crushes it and shows out, I can't see them scoring much more than between 10 and 14 points. I think the offense is firing on all cylinders right now. If Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie misses the game,
give me a 30 spot.
30 spot. I'll give you 34-10.
That's a big win. If we get that win, I think that this city is going to go on fire because, you're going to Tennessee.
Mariota can't handle this defense.
No, you don't. You could look past Tennessee. You go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to be a huge game. I think this is going to be another game where the national media will be all over it because Cincinnati might be going in undefeated and the Bills might be going in with 1 loss. And at Ralph Wilson Stadium, another big game. So,
and that is I believe that week against Cincinnati is either the first or the second week of the season where you can begin to flex games.
Oh, really?
Into like Sunday nighters. Well, the Sunday night game is the only flexible game actually, but it's a rough go at things there. I'm not sure if they can flex into Monday night. If they can flex into Monday night, you got Giants, Eagles that week. And
they might just do it for the big, the big fan bases.
Big fan bases. You're not going to flex out New England, Indianapolis because that's a huge game. But just look down the road. If the Bills continue to win games, there's no reason to believe that I think that they can't maybe flex a game out here or there for the Bills. We do have 2 nice primetime games. Everybody gets a Thursday, obviously, but Monday night, first Monday night game for the Bills in a while. Maybe get some revenge from that McKelvin fumble all those years ago against the Pats.
Let's hope. What I want to do real quick, though, is just hit up the hockey side of things. The Buffalo Sabres played this weekend against Ottawa, and I think that you really just saw the skill of our team and how they could actually score some goals this year. And it starts with that first line that they had out there, and that was Ennis, Eichel, and Evander Kane. And you had Ennis have 3 goals. You had Kane have a goal, and you had Eichel have 3 assists. And I think the skill is really something to behold, and I think it's going to be a fun season.
I agree. Matthew Collar trying to get that Jacker nickname to catch on. I don't not like it, but I'm going to go more Jack-O-Lantern. He's going to light the lantern a lot this year, I think, or have a lot of part to do with it. He looks like everything and more that we wanted out of the guy and what we wanted to bring into the Sabres for a new revival and hopefully a brand new team. If he can keep playing like he does in the preseason now, it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's early yet. The biggest question is still between the pipes, Robin Lehner. You don't look bad. You don't look good. You don't need a great goalie, but the whole team is going to be dependent on that.
Oh yeah, it really is going to be dependent on we're going to score goals. It's evident. You could tell by this lineup that it's going to be a quick team. It's going to be a fast team, and they're going to score goals. It's almost going to be like Edmonton. It's just if if their defense holds up, and we did trade away some nice defensive talent in Zadorov, and we brought in Bogosian, who's hurt already, and he's always hurt.
Ristolainen did just come back today.
Yeah, and then Georges is out too. So, I think the defense is going to be a little bit suspect. I think Ristolainen is really going to come into his own this year. Well, we're going to score. We're going to let in goals. It's going to be a fun year, and I think it's going to be something that all the fans are going to want to head out to FNC just to take in this team and take in the talent that's on the ice, because I think Eichel's something special that we're never going to be. We're going to be lucky. We're going to tell our kids, we got to see this guy play for, years to come. And I think Kane is good. I think that the way he plays is really, the fans in Buffalo are going to love it. And then I think Ennis has just come into his own. He had a goal where he got a giveaway and he shot it on net, and the rebound came up, and Ennis just batted it in for his third goal, and it was just so filthy.
Since I also have this way to talk to people now here on All Western New York Radio, just really quick, Sabres, you've had a horrible go at things with third jerseys over the years. I know you said you're not going to have a third jersey for a little while, and that's totally understandable and respectable because you've kind of screwed the pooch on it lately. But if you're going to have ever have a third jersey again, please bring back the classic red with the crossing swords and the buffalo around the waist. I might be one of few people that feel that way, but that was the greatest third jersey I've ever seen in my entire life. I know Kev Diddy's a proponent of bringing back the classic blue and gold with the lighter powder blue and all that jazz, but the way that we're going now, just please bring those jerseys back. Just, I'm begging you. Even if, maybe by some odd chance someone will hear this and someone will want to feel the same way that I do, maybe we can start an online petition or something, but the first ever jersey I had was that Miroslav Shatan. It was just so beautiful. A red jersey. I wish the Bills had a red third jersey. I need that. And I know this is random and coming off the top and all that jazz, but if you want a solid third jersey, bring back the red. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh, that is respectable. And I think that, they will be looking to bring back some sort of jersey. I don't think it's going to be the red ones, but possibly let's do a mixture of like a Bills and the Sabres jersey. They say one Buffalo, so why don't we do like a third jersey for both teams?
I would like that. Also, really quick, just got a phone alert talking about LaShawn McCoy unlikely to play Sunday against the Giants. Rex did mention that maybe he would consider holding him out and letting Carlos Williams play because you want to get your starting running back to 100%. I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but if he is banged up, give him a week because like we were saying, this is a game that we should be able to go out and win regardless of who's taking handoffs, especially since Carlos Williams has been playing so well. So if it's what needs to be done, Shady McCoy, get some rest, ice that leg, hang out, and maybe we'll see you in Tennessee, my friend.
Hypothetical. Carlos Williams goes off, over 100-yard game, touchdown, looks really good, over 5 yards of carry. What happens against Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If he does well, I still think that Shady McCoy is the guy. We just paid him all that money in the offseason. We did a lot to bring him in. Kiko Alonso looks like he might have another tear in that knee, going to see James Andrews to get another look at that knee. That's besides the point, though. We gave a lot for Shady McCoy, so I don't think you can just readily dump Shady McCoy and say, sorry, Carlos Williams is getting all the carries. But I think that gives it a lot more closer to maybe a 65-35 split in carries.
Right, it's flexible, and then the defense really don't know how to stop that because you have an east-west, you have a north-south, and you got both guys can catch out of the backfield and both guys can block.
It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm definitely excited to see how it goes. Me and Kev both have a Buffalo Bills victory as our prediction. It's been a beautiful week here in the War Room at All WNY Radio, as it always is. I hope you enjoyed everything that we brought to you, told you, and we will see you next week after a hopeful Bills victory.
Have a good evening.
Have a good one, everybody.